Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Danny Nguyen. I said I was going to be gone for a minute, and it was a minute, but I actually agreed to look at the Meletrix ZoomTKL Dyna, and I just forgot it was coming. As an update, the tariffs have cooled off, so we have some hope for the continuation of the purchasing and use of mechanical keyboards in this economic climate. I hope it continues so we can kind of squeeze out a little bit more time together, having fun, looking at keyboards and stuff, so get everyone a keyboard. Because the tariffs being a crazy amount, like 145%, that was unsustainable. It also did not just affect keyboards. I was unable to buy like menswear suiting. There were tariffs in the checkout, in the cart, and it was like double the price of everything I wanted. It was horrible. It affected my gym purchases. It affected everything. So having them cool off is better for everyone, so we don't end up in a downward spiral of being unable to afford anything ever again. But today we're going to talk about the ZoomTKL Dyna, and this is the latest of these Ultraman themed keyboards. And this keyboard has everything that even non-keyboard enthusiasts have been wanting. We have here magnetic case enclosure, so no screws. We have 8K polling rate, if your elite gaming can even sustain that or even utilize it. And we have knob, screen, all the fun stuff. Come on, turn on, wake up. It's on Bluetooth mode because this also has wireless functionality, which is great. No cables. I don't use that personally because I'm just used to having cables. I always have one USB cable, but it's there for you if you want it. Meletrix has definitely been a contender in this space for budget-oriented keyboards, and I didn't love the 75%, but the TKL has been great. I liked the Zoom 65, and the original Zoom TKL was decent. It didn't need any foam. And now this Dyna version is like the full evolution of the Zoom TKL. And in general, if you're gonna have one keyboard, which I definitely recommend, you want a TKL because there's no layering involved. You have all the keys that you're used to. It has the most space for being able to have fun stuff like the screen and the knob. And the back has this cool weight design. Mirror finished stainless steel and the LEDs. LEDs look great. I have a ProMist filter on, so it makes the RGB look really good. ProMist just makes it misty looking as if there's fog in here for the lights. So yeah, I personally really like RGB, and I had to rebuild this in a certain configuration to have the RGB back. We'll get into that in a minute. The main reason why I like this new design is that it doesn't look like every other TKL. This is the GT silver unit with the mirror finish. So I like it. The grill here, I personally don't love grill weight designs, but it blends in here and it looks like it matches the theme very well. Also, the back has slopes up toward the case, so that curve is very nice. It also allows the keyboard to pop off the desk a little bit to have the underglow really pop. If you look at this, the RGB is very bright in the back, and that's because there's four individual PCBs that are attached to the main PCB that have LEDs fired outward. That's why it's super bright and is really good looking. But it looks best at the top where it's much higher off the desk. I put on sleep mode, so I have to press it on every few seconds. Don't want to waste the battery. The roller feet in the back are pre-installed and there are no screws. It is a ball and latch enclosure, which is really nice, but it does kind of mess up one of the mounting styles, and we'll get into that in a minute. As for the top of the case, we do have a cherry lip right here, so it kind of bevels down, which makes the front height feel a little bit lower. This is an 18mm, 6.7 degree typing angle. 18mm is fine. 18.5 and 19mm is the high end of what I would be willing to tolerate. Anything lower is nice. Personally, I prefer 17.5 and 17mm if I can, but with the angle here, it makes it really tolerable and it's really comfy to use even if it's taller than what I'm used to. So the top has rounded edges, which makes it a little bit nicer, looks a bit more premium, and the bezels aren't too thick. I don't like thick bezels. It makes the keyboard look a little bit like a toy and kind of cartoony, like the Rama U80 from way back then. Yeah, I don't like all that stuff. It makes it look very cheesy. These are very balanced. A little bit thicker on the bottom for the cherry lip, matching thickness for the top, and the right and left are pretty thin. Overall, very nice balanced aesthetic on the desk. And in terms of the top right corner, there's a screen and the knob. I personally don't use the keys up there a lot, but I have seen people use it as media keys. So pause, play, previous, and next. So that is the key: print screen, scroll lock, and pause. We have an F13 layout here, so you still have your print screen key if you need it. Scroll lock, who uses Excel, right? And pause, who actually uses the pause key there. The knob here, you can control your volume and you can press it to mute. You can control the functions via as well. The screen itself isn't touchscreen. Can't really do anything with it, but it displays the time. It can display your typing speed. It can have a little animation. It can display GIFs if you like. My main use case would be to load funny GIFs. or put a picture of my dog. As for the knob itself, I personally do not care for knobs because I have my own devices such as the Wave XLR and the Stream Deck allowing me to control the volume. That's because I'm a streamer. I think some people may be into audio as well, so they'll have their own kind of device to control volume. Knobs are not always required. My little sister got a keyboard from me and she definitely asked me how do I change the volume. So some people may need it. It is a fun little tactile thing. You can turn it, has some nice little response to it, some clickiness to it. I do like that it is a low profile knob, right? So it doesn't stick out too much. The original knob keyboard, the Satisfaction 75, one, it was soldered on, so it was a pain. This one is an easy mounting, like a hot swap switch, and it stuck out a lot. But the original one was really tall, and it was like low, 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 pop for the knob, and it was really weird. It also has perky RGB. You can kind of see it in here, but I don't have translucent keycaps to show it off. So having underglow is definitely my preference. It looks way cleaner in my opinion. Okay, now let's talk about the main draw of this keyboard specifically. That's the 8K polling rate. So 8K polling means it's going to respond faster, yada, yada, yada. I don't know why people keep asking for it. It puts it more close to the rooting keyboard, which is the gamer keyboard. Yeah, if you really want it, this does have it in the wired mode. And that is why we have ribbon cables on this board, which is the bane of my existence. The ribbon cable for the main USB-C connection is how we have 8K polling rate. Now this can keep up with the gamer keyboards while being a mechanical keyboard. And if you don't care, you can use it with a tri-mode, so you can Bluetooth, dongle, whatever. But when I say ribbon cables are the bane of my existence, I am not joking at all. The first ribbon cable board I messed with, I snapped it and the keyboard died. We had to get a replacement PCB. The second one, I broke the underglow RGB PCB. Just broke off, had to use a backup. Luckily that one had a backup. This one, it popped open. Because of Philips 180, I accidentally plugged it backwards and sparked up magic smoke and I burned the ribbon cable. Oh, it smoked! And then it died. Yeah, that's not great. I tried the other backup ribbon cable. The ribbon cable itself was not the only thing I broke. It also broke the JSD connector on the board. So they had to send me another JSD connector for the case to replace later on. And that's why I came back with the Stream 2 where I rebuilt it with all the other mounting styles as well as fixed components. And that's when it works. But as I was doing that, it popped up in 1 second and then the underglow broke. Pop it right here so it doesn't scratch. Oh, it popped off again. Found out later the underglow broke because I broke one of the perky RGB LEDs that were on the board. I don't know how I did it. It may have been user error, but that broke the chain. So although I had perky RGB and the ribbon cable did work and I could type on the keyboard, the underglow was dead on the 1.6mm PCB that I built it with the first time. So I reported this all back to Meletrix, so when you do get it yourself, you're gonna have thorough directions via PDF, as well as a video to follow with exactly how to install it. I unfortunately started with the installation of the top mount, which was the hardest mounting, and the top mount is why I probably broke it, because the top mount means I'm holding the case and the PCB at the same time, trying to learn how to insert the ribbon cable. Yeah, I user errored that pretty hard and broke it. Oh, it smoked! In terms of my tips to you, just always remember that the blue faces away from the PCB. There's a white side of the ribbon cable and a blue side, and you want the blue side to be facing away. The screen connects via poco pin, so at least that doesn't require another ribbon cable. That can break. The ribbon cable is connected to a little PCB that you just kind of stuff into the bottom case with a little bit of rubber piece to hold it in with friction, and that allows it to pop off without breaking. Whereas the main PCB is ribbon cable to ribbon cable. You pull it off without remembering that, you can break it. So that's the main drawback of it. Because there's a ribbon cable, it kind of defeats a little bit of the point of the magnetic case enclosure, in my opinion. Because if it had a pogo pin for the main PCB as well as the screen, you can install it, pop it off easily without ever worrying about it. But with the ribbon cable here, you have to be very careful when you take it apart. It matters most for the top mount. With the other mounting styles, the PCB can separate from the top case, so you won't break it. The piece will just kind of sit there. For my proto, or injection molded right? Pop off, let's pop this off without breaking it. Okay. There's a lot of things to think about here, so the installation is not as straightforward as I would hope it to be, but that's kind of the cost of the 8K polling. Is 8K polling worth all this stress and the design where it is less user-friendly for installation? But hopefully when you watch the video and watch my video and the guide video that they can provide, you don't mess up your board. Once you see the video on how it's done properly, you'll probably never mess it up. I did not have a guide video because I am the one that helps support making the guide video because I'm a dumb, all right? Other thing is The top mount is the most difficult to work with because the top mount, the PCB is connected to the top case. So once you close it up, there's no way to get the top case and the bottom case separate, because if you press the switches, which is what I usually do a magnetic enclosure, you press the switches, it's connected to the top case. So you can't separate it unless you kind of put your finger in here and pull these two pieces apart. So the way to do it is to take out the hot swap switch and then use a thin rod kind of thing and push through the hole for the hot swap and push the bottom case away.
Genius. Y'all genius.
There is a plastic sheet that you put on the bottom of the case that is probably intended for ESD protection. It also works as screwdriver protection. So I use a screwdriver to push it apart. Does not feel great. Don't love it, but I didn't end up scuffing the case because there's the ESD sheet at the bottom. Top mount sounds like ass anyway, so don't do that one. So with the mounting styles, you got a few. You got your top mount, you got elastic bar, silica gel, and split O-ring. I went through all of them. I used a 1.6 millimeter PCB at first, which I then broke twice. And it also has a 1.2 millimeter flex cut PCB for your use. It also comes with poron foam as well as a cork layer to be used in lieu of poron. And the cork works pretty well. It's been a kind of a new addition to the space. We always have our poron foam and then our PE foam, and then we've been trying other materials. Cork is more porous, so it doesn't have that kind of a like deadened sound with the rubber of the poron. So I personally like it. It does the job. It kind of tunes the sound a little bit without kind of eating up the sound too much and changing it toward that foam signature. So when I broke it the first time, the 1.6 millimeter PCB and the top mount, I ended up trying the cork.
Oop. It's because it should just slide in.
Cork didn't make it sound any better. Didn't make it sound worse.
That actually sounds pretty good. Listen to how tight this is. Stock. That's crazy. No, the top mount's buns.
The top mount, spacebar sound, not great. That's why I wouldn't recommend the top mount at all. It does have that kind of stiffer typing experience if you're into it. Also, it's really hard to take apart, so I would really highly suggest pushing you toward the other mounting styles. After the top mount, I tried the silica gel, which sounded pretty good, honestly.
Okay, that bangs. That bangs.
So the silica gel is kind of like that rubber gasket sound. That's not poron necessarily, but it's really easy to install and remove. I really like that a lot. The spacebar sounded pretty solid. Then I tried the elastic bar.
Hooks into this. Okay. I'm assuming it presses down into here. Elastic bar just slots in like that into that space. Yeah, this spacebar sounds bunk for sure.
And we're using Nixie's on 1.6 millimeter PCB here and the carbon fiber plate. So you may sound better with other switch and plate materials. I really tried not to do the split O-ring because it's so finicky, because you have to have two little screws and screw all over the case so that it has a thing for the O-ring to mount to. The split O-ring is a PCB mount, and honestly, after I put it all together, put in all the effort, the split O-ring sounded the best.
Okay, now Jackson's trying to get in here. Overall, my
Good alphas, well-rounded sound, good spacebar, with a long pole or not. So definitely highly recommend the split O-ring. That's the strongest mounting style in my opinion for this board. But unfortunately, since I broke the 1.6mm PCB, I had to rebuild with a 1.2mm so that I can have something with light to show you during this video. Because like I said, I broke the underglow RGB because I broke the PCB, and it was, unfortunately, the breaking was not just like a JST thing. I ripped the LEDs off the pad. Somehow the per key RGB broke off. It was part of the chain that connects the per key to the underglow. So yeah, it just no longer worked. I tried to solder it back, but yeah, it's dead. It's dead. I would have to cut open the copper traces and bridge that way, and I just don't have the skill to do that. Honestly, I've been building keyboards for this is the 5th year at this point, and I still can't do that kind of repair. So with the 1.2mm PCB, I definitely use the cork because I want a little bit more stiffness. Stiffness yields a more poppy sound, especially with a split O-ring. I do want the poppier sound. I think it sounds pretty good. With the 1.2mm flex cut PCB, it does sound a little bit lower volume, but it's not truly deadened sound, especially when using the cork. I'm still going to prefer the 1.6mm in most cases because it's poppier, it's stiffer. I don't really care for all the flex of a flex cut PCB, but the 1.2mm with the cork is fine. Totally doable. So what are my thoughts on this keyboard? I think the keyboard sounds like a 7 out of 10 sound. C minus, maybe a solid C. Not gonna blow your socks off in terms of sound, but has a lot more features and aesthetic to really put it ahead of other boards. The screen and the knob implementation is great. I do hate the ribbon cable because it gave me trouble. I was scared, and my fears were warranted, honestly. I broke it multiple times. I would say the split O-ring is like a 7.5 out of 10 sound. The spacebar is just not really that strong overall to really push it to like 8 or 9. But the alphas sound great in most configurations. The silica gel and the split O-ring both have really great alphas. Top mount spacebar is like a 5.5. I really hated that one with the Nixies on CF. The 1.2mm PCB is just not as loud, so maybe it's best suited for an office environment. I have had some people ask, like, what kind of switches do I use in an office environment? Do I just go for Topra? In terms of sound, this is not hollow in any way, so just pleasantly surprised. The original ZoomTKL didn't have hollowness either, so I'm glad they didn't regress while adding these fancy features. There's plenty of mounting styles and foam and cork for you to work with and play around with and experiment with, as long as you don't break the ribbon cable. So there's a lot of fun to be had with this keyboard to experiment, so I think it's a solid buy. My last complaint came about when I was doing my final build for this review video, and it was that the feet are not fully balanced. One of the feet are a little bit more recessed than the others, so it kind of rocks on the table. Easy fix. I sent this feedback back to Meletrix for the production run, so they should not have this issue in the production run. They just have to adjust it by like a millimeter or half a millimeter. And one of the funny things is when you type right here, it says base. It's not a base bar. I think space doesn't fit in the screen with their font. For this board, it is $185, which is a great price point for a TKL with all these features. You got your tri-mode, you got 8K polling, you got your screen, knob, different mounting styles, different plates, and different PCBs, all hot swap. As we can tell, if you were not hot swap, you would have a lot of issues with the mounting style. The sound is not the top tier. I would say it's about middle of the road. If you like the aesthetic and the back weight design, definitely worth a look. But like always, it's not going to be too different from other boards. It's not going to sound better than your other boards. You're just buying something that is more for the aesthetic and the theme. It does look very clean, and it does have a lot of novelty to carry you out through your hobby. If it's your one keyboard, a TKL is probably a great buy to go for. Other than that, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comment section what you think of this keyboard. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.